The Tale of the Shipwrecked Sailor. Egypt. Between 2000 and 1900 BCE.
"Take heart, my lord," the worthy attendant said. "We have reached home. The mallet has been seized, the mooring post staked, and the prow rope placed upon land. The crew gives praise. They thank God. Each man embraces his fellow. Our crew has returned safely. Our troops have suffered no loss. We have left behind Waward and passed Senmit. We have returned in safety and reached our land. Now, listen to me. My lord, I do not exaggerate. Prepare yourself. Wash your fingers with water. For you must answer the king's questioning. You must speak to him with presence of mind, without a stammering tongue. A man's mouth can save him, and his speech make one forgive him. But I grow weary of convincing you. Do as you like. Still, I shall tell you. Something similar happened to me. I set out to the king's mines. Gone to sea in a ship of 120 cubits in length, and 40 cubits in width. 120 sailors aboard. The finest in all Egypt. Look they at sky. Look they at land. Their hearts stouter than lions. They could foretell a storm before it came. A tempest before it broke. And come, a storm did. Well, we were at sea, before we could reach land. It swelled the ocean as we sailed. A wave 8 cubits tall, which struck the mast, slaying our ship. Of those men in it, none survived, and I alone was cast on an island by a wave of the sea. 3 days spent I alone, with naught but my heart as companion. I hugged the shade, lying in the shelter of the trees. Finally, I stretched my legs, and went to discover what I might eat. Figs and grapes I found there. Sycamore figs, ripe and unripe. And all sorts of fine vegetables. Cucumbers that thrived as if in a tended garden. Fish there were, and fowl, and every manner of edible thing. I stuffed myself, and filled my arms. But there was great surplus, so I was forced to leave some behind. So, I cut a fire drill, and made a fire to give burnt offering to the gods. Then I heard a thundering noise. And I thought, it is a wave of the sea. But the trees splintered, and the ground trembled, so I cowered. When I uncovered my face, I found that the sound was the coming of a great serpent. He was 30 cubits, with a beard over 2 cubits long. His body was overlaid in gold, and his eyebrows were of lapis lazuli. He reared up in front, and opened his mouth to me while I cowered on my belly before him. "Who brought you? Who brought you? Fellow, who brought you?" he said. "If you delay telling me who brought you to this island, I shall reduce you to ashes, and make you like a thing unseen." I replied, "Though you speak to me, I am stunned of mind. Here I am before you without knowing myself the answer to that question." So he took me in his mouth, and carried me to the place of his lair, and set me down unhurt, whole, with nothing taken from me. Again he opened his mouth to me, while I lay on my belly before him. "Who brought you? Who brought you? Fellow, who brought you to this island of the sea, encompassed round about in water?" Then I answered him, bowing down before him with arms bent. "I set out to the mines, on a mission of the king. A ship we sailed, of 120 cubits in length, and 40 cubits in width. 120 sailors were in it, the finest in all of Egypt. Look they at sky. Look they at land. And their hearts were stouter than lions. They could foretell a storm before it came. A tempest before it struck. Each of them. His heart was stouter, his arm stronger than his mate's. There was no fool among them. A storm came up while we were at sea, before we could reach land. As we sailed, it swelled the ocean. And there rose a great wave, 8 cubits tall. It struck the mast, and the ship was slain. Of the men of the ship, not one survived. And I alone was brought to this island by a wave of the sea." Then said the serpent, "Do not be afraid. Do not be afraid, fellow. Do not be pale-faced, now that you have come to me. It is God who has let you live, and brought you to this phantom island. There is nothing that is not in it. It is full of all good things. You shall pass month upon month, for 4 months in this land. Then a ship will come from home, with sailors in it whom you know. You shall go home with them. You shall die someday in your own town. Not here. I shall tell you something that happened here. On this island. I was here with my brothers, and their children with them. 75 serpents in all. Children and brothers. Not to mention a little daughter whom I had obtained through prayer. One day, a star fell, and burned them up in flames. It so happened that I was not with them in the fire. I was not among them. When I found them as one heap of corpses, I could have died, for their sake. If you are brave, and control your heart. You shall embrace your children. You shall kiss your wife, and you shall see your home. Such things are better than anything else. You shall reach home, and be there among your brothers. Stretched out on my belly, I touched the ground before him in a bow, and said, I shall speak of your power to the king. I shall let him know of your greatness. I shall send you oils, laudanum and spices, and the incense of the temples which pleases all the gods. I shall tell what happened to me, what I saw of your power. I will praise God for you in the city before the counselors of the whole land. I shall slaughter oxen for you as burnt offering. I shall sacrifice geese to you, and send you ships loaded with all the treasures of Egypt, as is done for a god who befriends people in a distant, unknown land. Then he laughed at me for the things which I had said, for to him they seemed foolish. You are not rich in myrrh, and all kinds of incense, but I am the Lord of Punt, and myrrh is my very own. The oil you speak of sending, it abounds on this island. Moreover, when you have left this place, you will not see it again. This island will have become water. In 4 months' time, the ship came, as he had foretold. I went and climbed atop a tall tree, recognizing those that were in the vessel. When I went to report it, I found that the serpent knew already. In health, fellow. Away, to your home, that you may see your children, he said to me. Make me a good name in your town. That is all I ask of you. And I prostrated myself on my belly before him, and bent my arms in a bow. Then he gave me a load of myrrh, oil, laudanum, spices, perfume, eye paints, giraffes' tails, great lumps of incense, elephants' tusks, greyhounds, long-tailed monkeys, baboons, and all manner of precious treasures. I loaded them on the ship, and prostrated myself again on my belly to thank him. You will reach home in 2 months, he said to me. You will embrace your children. You will flourish at home, and there you will be buried. So I went down to the shore near the ship, and hailed the crew. I gave praise on the shore to the Lord of the island, and those in the ship did the same. We sailed north then, to the king's residence, and we reached it in 2 months' time, as the serpent had said. And I went in to the king, and presented before him the gifts I had brought from the island. He praised God for me, in the presence of the counselors of the whole land, and I was made an attendant and endowed with the king's own serfs. So, hear me well, my lord, look to your future self, yourself after this experience. Do not dwell on the tribulations of the present. And my lord replied to me, save your breath, my friend. Who gives water at dawn to a goose doomed to slaughter later in the same day? Your hope is wasted. This tale was transcribed from beginning to end as it was found in writing, by the scribe of cunning fingers, Imini, son of Imini. Life, prosperity, and health to you.
This concludes the tale of the Shipwrecked Sailor.